he still has that conviction for rape in Los Angeles, which has to be served separately from the New York sentence. But his attorney in the California case believed the consequences of the New York decision could impact the California case, in part because prosecutors used the verdict in New York with the California jury. Joining us now is Jennifer Bonjean. She is Harvey Weinstein's California lawyer, plans to file an appeal on behalf of him in California. Thanks very much for coming on the program. Appreciate it. So explain to us what your argument is as to why the New York decision would impact the California case.
Well, you have to understand that when that Los Angeles jury walked into that courtroom, not only did every potential juror understand that there were allegations generally in the media that he was alleged to have committed these heinous sex crimes, but what they also understood and knew was that he was a convicted felon. He came into that courtroom with the stamp of convicted felon on his back. And they believed that he had been righteously convicted in a fair trial by 12 jurors of his peers, and that it was done so fairly. And that turns out not to be the case at all, that trial was essentially rigged in the sense that the prosecution cheated by presenting excessive evidence of other bad acts that prevented him from getting a fair shake on the charged offenses. And that was the lens through which this jury looked through the evidence in the Los Angeles trial. So the presumption of innocence just didn't exist for Harvey Weinstein from the start.
The LA District Attorney has offered the following statement: although we do not know what arguments the defense will raise on appeal, we're confident that our convictions will withstand appellate scrutiny. Do you think that the appellate courts in California are going to accept your arguments and that you'll actually win this one?
Yes, if fairness prevails, absolutely. And it's not just because this jury came with an assumption that he was a convicted felon, which he is no longer a convicted felon. And it's also because the case was hanging on by a thread from the beginning. What some people don't understand is that Harvey Weinstein's defense in this case was gutted from the start. The trial judge excluded extraordinarily important evidence that related to his defense, namely that the one woman, the Jane Doe 1, which was the only count he was convicted of, or the only complainant that he was convicted of, there was evidence excluded that she was with someone else on the evening that she claims that Harvey Weinstein assaulted her. 3 jurors have sworn out affidavits saying that if they had known the evidence that was excluded from them, they would not have voted to convict. Now, this is a case that was closely balanced. He was hung on 2 counts, acquitted on 1, and 1 count stood. And now we have much to unravel as a result of not only this New York case being overturned, but also because there was evidence that was excluded from the jury. So it's not just the New York case on which this appeal hangs, if you will. Not to mention his sentence was premised on a prior conviction. He was sentenced with a conviction. So, even just the mere fact of a sentencing hearing, is another thing that we need to consider.
And I think you actually have some serious legal arguments. We shall see what happens here. What do you say to the many women who say that they've been victimized by Harvey Weinstein? Is that not your purview? The response to that? Is yours just in the legal arena?
I don't really know that I understand that question. What do I say to them? Why? Because I'm a woman? I don't really understand the question.
No, well, because you're Harvey Weinstein's lawyer.
My obligation is to my client. Right. My obligation, there are plenty of people whose obligations are to the accusers and the victims, and they are doing their jobs. My job is on behalf of my client, who is presumed innocent and who I believe is innocent. Right. So that's where my loyalties lie. I don't really believe it's my place to be speaking to the victims in this case, or the alleged victims. That is for someone else to do. So
the answer to my question is actually, yes, you don't view it as your purview, which is what I was trying to provide to you, was to say that's not what you're focused on. That was the purpose of the question. It wasn't that confusing, I don't think. It was pretty straightforward.
Well, to me, it's an unusual question.
Really? It's unusual to ask a lawyer for someone, what would you say? Because the victims here weren't just the people who testified in court. There were also a lot of other people.
I don't know why would it be my obligation to
I didn't say obligation. I didn't say anything about an obligation. I just asked you if you had anything to say.
I think there are better questions to ask. I think there are better questions to ask.
I'm sure you do. But I'm not here to ask you just the questions you want to be asked. So.
It's not. You guys are not.
But I think, as I said, I think you make very, I think these are serious legal arguments. I'm taking them very serious. I'm taking everything you're saying very seriously. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.